Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi has announced the terms of reference of an inquiry into the Marshalltown fire that claimed the lives of 77 people. However, at least one organization is calling for the blame to be placed at the right door. Union Giwusa is planning a mass public meeting at the Library Gardens in Johannesburg on Saturday. We're joined by the organization's Mametlwe Sebei, who is president of the General Industries Workers Union of South Africa. Mr. Sebei, good evening to you. Thanks for your time. So, just to understand, are you dissatisfied with the terms of reference of this inquiry, or is it a case that you want to see government do more?
We haven't interacted with the terms of reference, but with the decision to appoint the commission itself. We ourselves have called for a commission, but actually we did say that this commission must be truly independent and must, amongst others, be made up of representatives of working class organizations, especially those that are struggling or rather represent the residents of the inner city of Johannesburg, those that have been working on the issues of housing and the crisis of homelessness, including that of the so-called occupied or hijacked buildings, where many working class and poor people are living in an intolerable conditions of hardship, degradation, and I think a complete degradation and trembling on human dignity. And we do think that this commission that has been appointed, like others before it, is appointed by people who are responsible for this crisis and, of course, would ensure that they are, insulated from accountability, they are shielded from any liability, as we have seen with similar commissions like the ones on Marikana and so on. So we have no confidence, but that said, we intend to deliberate on our engagement with it, including participating and making robust submissions.
So as things stand, it is, retired Constitutional Court Judge Sisi Gampepe who will be heading up this commission. You talk about the need for independence. Why do you not think she would be independent enough?
For us, the crisis that led to this tragedy is a crisis, first and foremost, of the neoliberal policies of this government. And ultimately, that is policies that are dictated in this country and across the globe by the system of capitalism, which unfortunately is not only served by, the executive arm of government and, the legislative arms, but also judiciary in many ways, right? They are part of the state that is molded around the corporate interest. At best, what you are going to be hearing is scapegoating of, some low-level officials, which, of course, we do demand that they should be accountable. There's a clear, for instance, case of collision between some officials within the city of Johannesburg and some of the criminal syndicates that have hijacked this building, that are extorting money, from a disparate and homeless people for a rental over property they do not own, for fees over or tariffs over services that they do not provide. So there must be accountability for that. But we are saying that ultimately we want a commission that will shine light over the overall context of this crisis,
but Mr. Sebei, as things stand, you've got no substantive reason to question the independence of Justice Gampepe as the chair of this inquiry, because there has been nothing, at least, that you can point to outside of what you're speaking to, which is really around the terms of reference of this commission, right? You're saying that you want the commission to look more broadly at the conditions that have enabled, sort of the living system that led to those individuals that occupied the hijacked buildings being there in the first place. And that might well not be within the scope of this particular inquiry.
But that's exactly the point, that the terms of reference of these sort of commissions are always narrowed down in such a way that ultimately the system that dictate the logic of policies that impose austerity, that create conditions for this kind of tragedies are actually not touched and reflected upon, and that is because
but you said you haven't looked at the terms of reference yet.
But we do know, and we do have experience of so-called judicial commissions. We do engage, by the way, with the process. I mean, the commission that was appointed to investigate the circumstances around Marikana massacre. We did engage with commission that was appointed to look at the circumstances around Isidimeni and many so-called independent judicial investigations. And we can say this much to you.
But it's precisely through the work. It's precisely through the work of some of those commissions that the families, the victims, the survivors of both those incidents, whether it's Life Esidimeni or Marikana, have been able to at least have some level of compensation based on the findings of those commissions. So it's not true that, they're completely ineffective.
Well, you just have to go to, Rustenburg and look at the conditions of the, communities of Marikana, the conditions of the mine workers in that industry, to realize that there's not been justice at all. Because what is it that was at the cause of those kind of tragedies is, of course, the unequal allocation of wealth in this country. And the reality is, when you look narrowly at those immediate triggers, as they will say, these are the cause, or other terms of reference of the investigation, all you will find is low-level officials you can scapegoat for the crisis of the system.
All right.
Isidimeni, to give an example, what you see there was a logic of austerity imposed by national, by provincial government, but ultimately a logic of austerity that emanates from the kind of lobbying that corporations that monopolize our economy, that monopolize the wealth in this country. And this is the reason that public services are collapsing, including lack of proper and adequate public housing for all.
We're going to have to leave it there. Mametlwe Sebei is the president of Giwusa.